been there. So how do you win an argument when you're in the wrong, or worse, when you're in the right? And even tougher, when you're both right. With me now is relationships expert John Aiken. Good morning to you, John.
Good morning, Lisa.
Is arguing in a relationship always such a bad thing?
No, I think it's a good thing, actually. I mean, realistically, it's not so much whether an argument occurs in the relationship, it's how you argue. It's the way you get your message across and the way the person receives it. That's the important thing to focus on.
And also whether you end up ever resolving what the central issues are. And there's some fairly common themes when it comes to arguing in relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the big ones is parenting. You know, if you're not on the same team, undermining each other, that's always going to create a lot of arguments.
And kids are good at dividing and conquering, aren't they? They'll go to the parent that I know I'm going to get the best answer from.
Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, money's a big one as well. You know, if you're a cavalier and like to spend your money, and the other person's a saver and likes to be tight and pinch pennies, then you're going to have major problems there.
Also, not feeling like you're being listened to.
Yeah, that's an absolute huge one. You know, when people are talking, if the other person is not able to take on board the point or even just stay with them when they're getting things off the chest, and they don't feel listened to, and that's a major problem as well.
Okay, well, let's start going through some of the ways that you can prepare to win an argument. First one is be prepared.
Yeah, well, I think it's important to know what you're going to say. Be prepared about, you know, when you go into that, you know, how you want to say it, because you don't want to yell, and also what you want to get across to your person, to your partner.
Stay on message.
Yes, well, you can jump from one thing to the next. It's very easy to do that, and a problem as well if you're trying to get one thing across and you start talking about an argument that happened, you know, 2 weeks ago.
This is one that you've got to take a big gulp before you do it. Admit your mistakes.
It's very hard to do, although Carl does it very well. He's able to say sorry, but without giving excuses. Just sorry, full stop, is very important. And so, you know, listening, but also being able to admit you're wrong, very important.
Now, here's another one that's sometimes difficult in the heat of the moment. Give the other person credit.
Yes. Well, what
is
you're
that
doing...
basically disarm with charm?
Oh, I like that. Yes, yes, very much. I mean, what you're doing there is you're essentially acknowledging them, and you're saying, you know, I take your point, and it's a good point. It's hard to say that. Even
if you have to fake it.
Yeah, I mean, it's best if you're genuine in these situations, but being able to say, you know, look, I'll give you credit for that, it's good. And
be a good listener, but the only problem with that is sometimes you can be too good a listener and you don't get a chance to put your point across.
Yeah, well, look, what I say to people all the time is try your best to listen but don't fix. Hold back on the solutions, and if you don't get the point across but you're just listening and that's all you're doing, that's giving you a much better chance of resolving it and moving forward. Okay, and don't lose your temper, as you mentioned earlier. So, but how do you, once you've had the argument, how do you make sure that that issue is resolved and it's done and dusted? Well, sometimes issues won't resolve and you just remain in gridlock, but you have an agreement on how to manage them. And other times you may just have an agreement that you won't go back to that past issue, that you're going to move forward and leave that where it is. Okay, well, very good advice. John Aiken, always good to see you. And Carl, did you take all of that on board?
Well, I wasn't listening.
As long as you didn't lose your temper, you're fine.
Exactly.